Good morning. I'm a little jet lagged. I came from San Francisco and Singapore. It's been a rough few days. That was a cool intro. That's a good amount of money. How many of you are going to be submitting for that kind of funding? How many of you are indies here? Just independent developers? How many of you work for a larger studio? Okay, cool. It's about half, but I can't see because there's giant lights up there. So I don't know why I asked you to raise your hands. Anyway, just to talk a bit about who I am. I want to talk a bit about creative confidence, but before we get to that, let me explain who I am and what I do. For those who don't know me, I'm Rami Ismail. I'm one half of Dutch independent studio Vlambeer. I do the business, marketing, and programming at our studio. I'm not the only person at Vlambeer. There's another guy. His name is JW. He is our designer, and he is really good at designing small arcadey experiences. We've been doing this since 2010, and since then we've made quite a few games. We did Super Creative Box, Radical Fishing, Luftrausers, Gone Gods, Ridiculous Fishing, Nuclear Throne, Luftrausers, a bunch of other games. Some of those games did really well. We started back in 2010 with a really simple arcade platformer. We met in university. We immediately hated each other and hated working with each other, but also we hated school more than we hated each other. So we dropped out of school and were immediately super successful. This was the only food we could eat for the next like 2 years or something. You can buy like 3 of those for like 99 cents, and they come in like duck flavor and chicken and beef. It turns out duck is the only good one, so we would always fight over who gets the duck one. That wasn't good. Probably wasn't healthy for us either. But we kept working until eventually, because we didn't have money, we decided we had to make money, and the only way we knew how to make money was by making a game. So we made a game about fishing with machine guns. That sounded very logical to us. We've never been fishing, so to us it sounded like that's just kind of the way it works. But apparently it's not. And we took the money. We made just like 10,000 euros or something. We took that money and used it to turn this little prototype called Crates from Hell into Super Crate Box. And Super Crate Box was nominated for the Independent Games Festival back in 2010, and you could easily say that it was our first like hit. Which would be great if it wasn't freeware. So we made no money, so we still ate noodles. But the good news is everybody was suddenly paying attention because it was an Independent Games Festival nominated game, which means that all the press and all the industry was suddenly looking at this game. So people were suddenly talking about us, which led to us making more games. This is a game about hip-hop on Venus. I don't know, just we felt like making a first-person shooter. And then people started asking us to give talks, which was cool because I had made 2 games and I had no idea what I was doing, but suddenly people were telling me like, hey, you should tell all these other developers what to do. And I'm still doing that, it's weird. And then this team from Texas reached out to us and said, hey, we make this game called Serious Sam. We publish it. It's made by a team in Croatia. We want you to make a spin-off game. And me and JW, both of us, were huge fans of Serious Sam when we were kids. So, yeah, we kind of wanted to say no because we didn't trust the publisher. They were new. They were called Devolver Digital. We'd never heard of them. They had just started. And we just kind of thought they'd be suits, you know, like just they cared about the money and not about games or something. But we were young. So we wanted to say no, but also we really liked Serious Sam, so we also kind of wanted to say yes. So we came up with the best idea ever. We said, you know what? We're going to pitch the worst possible idea. And then they will say no, and then we don't have to make the game. But we won't have said no, so 14-year-old us won't be upset at us for saying no. So we said, you know what if we suggest, this is Serious Sam, right? It's a game about running, it's a game about shooting, action, intensity, explosions. We said, you know what if we make a turn-based RPG? So they said yes, and then we had to make it. So we made that. It was pretty good. I'm pretty proud of managing to put all that in a turn-based RPG. That was weird. We started doing events, started showcasing games, and then we started working on our like hit game, which was Ridiculous Fishing. It was a game about fishing with machine guns. Again, you might remember it. But now The internal pitch was, we are going to make the best iOS game ever made. 2013's best iOS game, we will make it. And it's got to be a game about fishing with machine guns. Like, end of story. Like, that might sound silly, but we're going to do it. So we got the best team we could find together. A programmer from New York, who's also a really good designer, Zach Gage. An artist from Chicago, Greg Wolwin. A musician from Norway, Erik Surke. We got that entire team together, and we decided to make this game the best iOS game ever. And it went pretty well for the first few months, and then a company in San Francisco saw the original Flash game that we had made and decided to copy it. So they cloned our game, and it kind of wrecked our productivity, so we kind of stopped working on it for about a year. Actually, we kind of stopped working on everything. I don't know, like, many of you are creatives, and you probably know that creative work is work that requires motivation, and if not motivation, discipline. We didn't have discipline. We were a bunch of kids that have been making games for 3 years successfully. Every game we did made money, got attention. Every game that we did immediately led to the next thing. So we never stopped. We never stopped to think. We never stopped to look. We just made stuff because it was great. Stay late, work late, sleep at the office. And we hadn't realized just how exhausting that was because everything was great. Everything was awesome. Everything was a success. So we just had that rush and we kept going. And then something went wrong and we just crashed. Because for the first time ever, we had to accept that something went wrong. So for half a year, we didn't work. It was basically a burnout. It took us almost a year to get over. And in that amount of time, our money was going, our funds were going, and we were almost out of money. We were almost out of business, to be honest, when we decided to email the New York Times. Because screw it, like, why not? Let's try the New York Times. And they wrote an article about it. They came and interviewed us, big, like it was a page and a half or something. Like, it was a big article about video games cloning. And it kind of got a lot of the industry to like reach out to us and say, like, hey, this is a bad thing to happen to you, but come on, you should finish this game. Can we help? So with the help of the entire games industry, we started working on it again. And then before we finished it, we actually started working on the game in the background. That one, Luftrausers, a little game about being the best fighter pilot in the world. We released that on PlayStation 3 and PC. Our first console game, which was terrifying, by the way, like your first ever console game, like, ooh. I don't know, if you've never done console and you've never done certification, let me tell you, that's not going to be fun. So we finished that and released it, and it was quite successful. And then we also finished Ridiculous Fishing, and we had said we were going to make the best iOS game ever made. And you know what? Apple agreed. So we made the best iOS game ever made up until that point. It is still in the top 5 lists of best iOS games ever made. Wow, that's kind of cool. And it changed us from a small indie studio with no money trying to survive and eating noodles into a studio that has money to make whatever the hell they want. Which is what we did. So we decided to make a top-down roguelike about mutants in a post-apocalyptic wasteland called Nuclear Throne. Released that on PC, Mac, Linux, PlayStation 4, PlayStation Vita. Probably some other stuff as well, I forgot. We put it on a lot of stuff. Did we? Yeah, we did. And then eventually we took a 2-year break because we felt we kind of deserved a 2-year break. So I've been traveling around the world, talking to developers worldwide, trying to figure out what the issues are in different territories, trying to figure out how I can help in different territories. At the beginning of this year, I received the GDC Ambassador Award for doing that work. My co-founder has been working on different stuff, including a game called Minute, which released for PC, Mac, Linux, PlayStation 4, and Switch just the other day. If you don't have a lot of time because you spend too much time making video games, but you want to play a little video game, go play Minute, because it takes a minute. That's why it's called that way. And then only a few weeks ago, I accidentally announced our new game. I wasn't supposed to. I was just going to show a sneak peek over at PAX, and then the IGN crew walked by and took a video. So, yeah, we have a new game. We don't have a title yet, which is an issue. Like, they were like, what's it called? I'm like, I have no idea. Like, I wasn't supposed to show this yet. So, oops, I announced the new game. So that's me. Anybody have any other questions about who I am or what I do, or shall we just get started on the talk? Because I think we're a little late with the schedule. Let's just get started. So why are we here? Well, games are awesome. That's for one. I don't know what you are doing, but what is today? What is today? Is it Thursday? So you're here Thursday at 11 a.m. sitting in a cinema listening to some dude talk. So you must really love video games. Because otherwise I have no idea what you're doing here. You could be anywhere but here and it will be great. Like, the weather is great, it's awesome. But part of why you're here is because you love video games. Part of why you're here is you're in this emerging industry, this place where the games industry is rapidly growing. And actually in a really interesting spot. So when I travel around the world, I see a lot of communities and they kind of fall into like 6 different categories. You've got the first one where nobody knows each other. Right, and everybody is just kind of making games on their own. They're doing it separately. They've never met. They don't do small events. And you've got the second stage where people have just started to meet each other and they're starting to throw little events. Usually they're like 20, 30 people, and they're all from one city or one place because people don't want to travel for that kind of stuff. Then in the third stage, the events start to grow. And I remember the first time I got invited to this event was in 2014. They've been inviting me every year. I feel so bad that it took me like 4 years to be here. But they start to throw events that are a little bit larger and people from all over the country or even from all over the region come. And some of the speakers, some of the people that are there, some of the attendants, some of the publishers will be international. That's a big difference because it means the industry grows and it means that internationally studios are starting to put studios here, they're starting to put money here, and events are starting to like reach out internationally. It creates a lot of potential for an industry, but it also creates a weird situation in which a non-Western industry looks at the Western industry for information, education, and inspiration, and I always find that a little bit of a shame. So what happens next is a hero emerges, and I hate the word hero, but the idea is somebody will do something very successful. Whether they will start a studio that's very successful, or they'll make a game that's very successful, or they'll make a lot of money with some sort of investment deal, it doesn't really matter. Somebody will be the first to do something really big. That's when you move into stage 4, because everybody else is going to look at that person and go, we can do better. And they try. But the thing is, they will try to do something different. So instead of doing something inspired by emulating the success of Western studios, making the next Flappy Bird or the next Clash Royale or the next Fortnite or the next Minecraft, they'll try to make their own thing. And it'll be different. That's where it becomes interesting, because at that point, you are your own industry. At that point, you are your own niche, and you create your own opportunities and your own problems. In stage 5, you end up being an international territory. Most places in Western Europe, North America, and some in Southeast Asia are that. Some places in Eastern Europe are also that. And then eventually you become a hub, and there's only 2 or 3 of those in the world. Usually like San Francisco and some other places. So if you hear that, like I kind of believe you all are somewhere between 3 and 4. You have this rapidly growing, rapidly expanding industry. You have international players that are here. You're finding your own identity, you're finding your own niche. You're starting to make games that are specifically Romanian, that could only be made by somebody in Romania, and I find that very exciting. But there's also some weird issues, because when I travel around, I don't hear that much about Romanian game development around the world. And part of that is just you're growing. Part of that is a little bit of confidence, and that's why I want to talk about confidence today. So, I want to talk about confidence in creativity, I want to talk about confidence in business, I want to talk about confidence, just being confident. And I do want to point out that confidence is a weird one, because it basically means that if I said that you were going to be on this stage in like 3 weeks, and you had to give a presentation, you'd have to be like, okay, right? That's the PlayStation stage, and if you are making a game for console, you might be asked to be on that stage. Every stage is scary, to be honest. Like the stage I'm on is scary. Like I don't know most of you. I don't even know what you're thinking right now. You might just be thinking, why the hell did I wake up this early to listen to this guy? That might be true, but I don't know. Confidence is not the same as arrogance, and I think that's important. Arrogance is pretending to be higher than others to put others down so you feel better. Confidence is making others believe in your dream. So you have a dream, you have a vision, you have an idea, and you need the ability to convince others of that. Now that is not just bragging or exaggerating. It's actually just channeling your own enthusiasm. And this is important in every aspect of the industry, not as an independent developer, as a AAA developer too, as a publisher too, as an investor, as a marketing person, as a business person. Confidence is important. And it doesn't mean you have to pretend you're bigger than you are or anything. It just means that when you are talking about something, you have to be excited about it. You have to believe it, because if you don't, why would I? So confidence in video games is weird because video games are a creative field. And that is cool, but it also comes with a unique set of problems. The main one being that it's creative. And creative is not subjective. It's expressive. It's an expression of who you are or what you do or what your studio wants to do. But part of it is personal. If you get asked to make something, whether it's a small asset or an entire video game, you're going to put a little bit of you in that. You're going to put, your job is just to make trees, 3D models of trees, you're still going to put a little of you in there depending on how you view trees. If you're going to make a game, you're going to make a game about something that you find important with the perspective that you believe is appropriate. Everything in every game, when you think about it, is there because somebody put it there. Whether it's they chose to use AI to generate a map, then still some designer looked at that and went like, yeah, this one is fine. Or if it's completely handmade, then obviously everything was placed by hand. Every line of code was written by hand. So everything is there for a reason. Now that makes it really hard to just say like, well, you should be confident about it, because again, it is subjective. And that is hard because it also means that schools, have any of you done game design education? No? Good. I did. I dropped out. It sucked. And it's not even because they didn't do a good job. It's just I already knew what I wanted to do. For some people, game design school is great, right? Teaches them all sorts of stuff about things they didn't think about. First year for me was awesome. They taught me how to draw. I still don't know how to draw, but at least I know a little bit about drawing now. Like I know a little bit about 3D. I know a little bit about 2D. Learn a little bit about music. Still suck. At least I know a little bit, right? Like I can listen to something and be like, I don't like the I don't like the reverb on that. And like I didn't know how to do that before. And honestly, because it's immeasurable, there's also this thing called imposter syndrome. I'm sure many of you have heard about it. Who has heard of imposter syndrome? Okay, for those of you that haven't, do you know how you feel like everybody in this room is better at what you do than you? And that the only thing that's stopping everybody else from finding out is that you're really good at pretending you're good at it? Like, if you look to the person on your left, you'll probably find that they feel that way. Also the person on your right. Actually, everybody in this room feels that way. Let me tell you, I feel that way. I have no idea why you are listening to me. Because I just made a bunch of indie games. Those did well. I don't know why they did well. I know that in 2010 I had a bunch of luck, and then in 2011 I had a bunch of luck. And I'm just like, what? But people keep inviting me to these events, so I guess I do something right. But like, I don't know. Now the honest truth is, everybody feels that way. Everybody feels everybody else knows better. Always. And everybody feels that way because we can only see in our own head, we can only see that we are nervous, and we don't know that everybody else is nervous because we can't see that, because everybody just seems like they know what they're doing. Now that makes it hard as well, because a large part of what is central to games is communication. What we're making is not just a game, it's a method of communication. And a lot of people think of games like entertainment, which is true. They can be anything, they can be educational. But at the heart of everything is we're communicating, and we pick the worst way to communicate with people. Because normally if I want to communicate, I just talk to you, right? I talk, you listen, you talk, I listen, a way of communicating. What we decided to do is we decided to teach a computer through programming code to have a conversation with a person that just wants to play a game, and then we hope there's no problems and the person gets it, which is really weird. Like, this is one of the hardest forms of communication. But everything in your game communicates. Everything in your game is about communicating. Whether it's communicating that a player should feel stressed out, stressful music, you know, the camera a little closer, or pull out the camera to show a little bit more chaos, or calm, you know, when you slow the game down a bit, you change the colors, you know, blue is a bit calmer than some other colors. Everything in a game is meant to communicate. And if you're not communicating or thinking about the communication, your game falls apart. So, if we're continuously communicating, then confidence in communication is going to be one of the most important things that we're going to be talking about, and design is at the heart of that. So when I say before that when we communicate, we picked a really hard way to communicate. I will tell you, every way of communication with a human is hard. So when I speak to you, I hope that what I say, the words that I say, mean the same to you as they mean to me. But I actually don't know for sure. Like an exercise I do very often with students is I ask them, okay, well, if I say the word sun, which is a big ball of lava in the sky, right? Then what do you think of? And the thing is, we would like to think that we all think the same, right? But the reality is, it's not. Like, you, what do you think of when I say the word sun? Fire. Who else had fire? Just raise your hand. One person? One person. Anybody else? Anybody who thinks they have a word that more than 10 people have? Star. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. About 7. Okay? Light. Yeah, maybe 10. Yeah, looks like 10. Anybody else? Sun god. 0. Son, like your kid. Huh? Fair enough. I think 2 people had that. Well done. I think Egypt, which nobody else does. But just because I'm Egyptian, I'm half Egyptian, and when I would go on holiday, I would go to Egypt, and it would be sunny there. So when people say sun, I think of Egypt. I do an exercise with students where I tell them, okay, you can ask me anything you want, and then you have 3 days to make that game. And they go, well, what kind of game is it? And I say, it's a platformer. And they say, what kind of platformer? Like a platformer. What do you mean, what kind of platform? Like, okay, but what do I do? I'm like, you get to the end of the level. It's a platformer. Can you jump? Yes, you can jump. It's a platformer. Are there enemies? Yes, there's enemies. What kind of enemies? Well, there's different types. Okay, how do you defeat them? Well, most of them you can defeat by jumping on top of them. But if they touch you any other way, you die. And some enemies have spikes, so if you touch them from above, you also die. Well, are there power-ups? Yes, there's power-ups. What do the power-ups do? Well, one of them makes you larger. One of them lets you shoot fireballs. All right, what do the fireballs do? Well, they bounce. All right, okay, cool. And then after a while, they start making their game. And you know what they make? Super Mario Bros. You know why I fail all of them? Because I want a Mario 64, but nobody ever asks. Because they all go like, oh, I got it, Super Mario Bros. And then they're done. But they never ask like, well, which Mario? They never ask what does it look like. They never make a drawing of like, is this the game you want? So they waste 3 days on that. I teach a lot of the people that I consult or work with like a very simple rule. If you want to communicate something, communicate it in the medium that you're talking about. So if you want to be talking about game design, either prototype it, because it's about feel, or draw a flowchart, because it's about structure. If you want to talk about programming, pseudocode, flowchart. If you want to talk about art, draw it. For God's sake, I don't know how to draw, but if I want to draw a cow, I just draw a circle and put the word cow over it. Like, it's fine. If you want to talk about sound, please don't say like, oh, I need a little bit more rumble on this thing. If you have a mouth and you're capable of speaking, just make the sound. It's like, oh, this explosion more like, I want more like, and then your sound designer goes like, yeah, I can do that. And if you say, I need more rumble, what does that mean? It could mean 100 things, just like platformer means 100 things, just like sun means 100 things. So try to communicate. When you communicate, obviously you want to be excited about something. If you go to your programmer and you go like, I have this idea, it's kind of shit. Could you make this? Okay. Well, if you go like, oh, wait, can you do this thing? Yeah, no, that's going to be real cool. Just, they're going to go, well, tone it down a little because they're a programmer and they just got 3 months of extra work. But also, they're going to be way more interested in doing those months of work because at least you are excited about it. And maybe you can bring them around. The same thing goes with marketing. Marketing in a large part is communicating value. It's communicating that something is valuable. If you've never done marketing, or if you think you've never done marketing, you're wrong. Because even when you got your job, you were doing marketing. Your resume is marketing. When you apply to a job, that's marketing. When you apply for publisher money, that's marketing. When you talk to press, that's marketing. Marketing is in any communication you do about your game. It's about every screenshot. It's about every trailer. It's about every word you say. It's about the name of the game. You know it's also marketing? Everything you don't say. Everything you don't respond to is marketing. Everything you don't react to is marketing. Everything you leave out of your resume is marketing. You know that 1 year after like you did school and you really should get a job, but instead you didn't get a job? You don't put that on your resume? You know that year traveling you did, or that year where you were just messing around? or like, I don't know what you were doing. You don't put that on your resume. That's marketing. Marketing is actually very important when you think about it, because it's about evoking a sense of value, saying like, hey, I have this thing and it's valuable to you. It will be valuable to you if you let it. And sometimes that's in exchange for money, and sometimes that's in exchange for whatever, honestly, for a job. But in the end, it's about evoking a sense of trust and evoking a sense of intrigue. So when you think about marketing, think a little bit bigger, because people often think about it, oh, I don't do marketing, I'm a modeler, I'm an artist, I'm a designer, I'm a programmer. No, you're continuously marketing. Even internally, you're marketing. If you're an indie, obviously you're marketing. But think about how you communicate. Think about the things you say. Think about the things you don't say. When you communicate something, think about the enthusiasm you have. And that's hard, because confidence is a large part of that. But confidence itself is communication too. Like, how many of you are working on a game right now? What are all the other people doing? What is up? What are you doing here? This is great. Who wants to pitch their game? There's one person, and they kind of lower their hand again. Yeah, this is what I mean. It's hard. Confidence is hard. Confidence is communication. You know what this communicates to me? Either you're not allowed to pitch your game, which fair enough, or you don't dare to pitch your game, which fair enough. The downside is, well, if you're not allowed, I don't have anything. But if you were allowed, there was nothing stopping you and you didn't, why not? This is a huge stage, and there was some guy on the stage just now, he said he had $500,000 to $3 million for you. That's a lot of money, you could have tried. But confidence is hard. Again, this is not an easy thing, it's something internal. It means trusting yourself, it means trusting your decisions, it means being okay with failing publicly. It means that you have to fail because you aim high and you dare to stand for something. And that is hard because, again, we all feel like we're just frauds, like we're just pretending. And I'm from the Netherlands, and it's a country that really doesn't like confidence. I don't know how it is in Romania here, but in the Netherlands, being confident seems arrogant really quickly. Our most famous saying is, if you act normal, you're acting crazy enough. And this is what they teach all our kids. It's just like, no, just blend in. Don't stand out. Like, just be like everybody. It'll be fine. But that's not it, right? If you want to sell something, if you want to convince others of something, you have to be confident about it. Every person that was ever on a stage had to look confident. I tried to look confident on this stage. I even took like a little bit of practice, like how do you use your hands? Did you know that if you're on a stage, you want to keep your hand gestures in about this range? If you do bigger than that, you seem like you're flailing, right? That doesn't look good. Well, if you keep it here, it looks more confident. Tricks, remember those. But I'm nervous to be on the stage. I was nervous walking on the stage. I did this cool little jump on the stage because it looks more confident. Weird, right? But that's part of it. That's part of the product of me being here is a confident keynote. And I make an exception for this one because I want to like tell you all about confidence. So in design, we're going to go through this fast because I only have a few minutes. In design, someone needs to make a decision. Doesn't matter what the decision is, but someone needs to make a decision. And games are expressive, they're personal. So you need to make sure that you are behind your design decision. If you're a designer, don't let anybody else convince you that what you're doing is wrong. Here's the thing. If somebody is right about something you said something and they have an argument and you go, oh yeah, fair enough. Maybe we shouldn't invert the forward and backwards button. Maybe that is a terrible idea. Then listen to them. But ultimately, design in a large part is just about making choices. The easiest way to think of design is if you start with an empty piece of paper and you draw a straight line across, then you're starting to design, right? You've removed every game that does not have a horizon or a line down the center. That's a design decision. So don't let anybody convince you that you should make a free-to-play game if you're on mobile or a premium game if you're on mobile. Don't let anybody convince you that you have to be on Steam or itch or PlayStation or Xbox. Just make the thing that you believe in, because that's the thing that you will ultimately be able to communicate. It's the thing that you'll be able to talk about with enthusiasm. And I want to try and convince you, and this is hard because I don't know the situation you're making games in, but I want to convince you to make the game you want to make. A lot of people say make the game you want to play. I say bullshit. I say make the game you want to make, because honestly, making the game you want to play just means you don't get to play it because you made it. So you know every problem with it, you know every issue with it, you know every secret in it, you know the end of the story, you know the beginning of the story. You're the only person in the world that will never enjoy that video game. The only one. Don't make that game. Make the game you want to make, because making video games is really, really hard and it's not necessarily fun. If you're not excited about what you're working on, you should be working on something else. And if you make a change, keep in mind that you're trying to communicate something with this game. You're trying to communicate a thing, whether it's a grand open world adventure or something small, whether it's personal or something for the major market, you are communicating. If you're making an open world game, you want to communicate open world values. If you're making a tight arcade experience, you probably want high scores. Why? Because it looks arcade, because it feels arcade, because it communicates arcade. And don't forget that what you want can change over time. A lot of people say, well, we committed to this in 2013, so we're going to make that. But if by 2016 that looks like a terrible idea, don't make that. Fortnite was not meant to be a battle royale game. Just at some point they went, oh shit, battle royale is big. Let's make a battle royale game. And that worked. In communication, you want to dare to be assertive. You want to dare to just say like, well, this is how I think it should be. You want to dare to be proactive. You want to dare to reach out. If you can, try to use as little words as possible. I found that people are way more confident in communicating when they use less words. Because when they use more words, they say things like, oh, well, I'm making this little game. It's like, why the hell are you saying little? What does that add? It just made me think that you're making something small. And maybe it is small. Maybe that's an important part. But a lot of people use it to sort of undersell what they're making to make it less painful for them when somebody says, oh, I'm not interested. Be confident. Just say, I'm making a game. I hear a lot of people say, I'm making an indie game. You're making a game. I hear a lot of students say, I'm an aspiring game developer. No, you're a game developer. I hear a lot of people say, well, I haven't made my first game yet. So what? A game developer isn't based on whether you released your first game. It's based on whether you're making a game. So you're a game developer, end of story. A lot of people try to undersell their achievements so they get held to lower standards so they feel better about what they're doing. But I'm telling you, what you're doing is good. Even if it's shit, honestly, the fact that you're trying is huge. So if you're not excited about your own stuff, why would I be? If you're not excited about what you're working on, why would I be? If you don't think what you make is good, why would I think it's good? If you don't believe in the ideas you're trying to pitch, why would I believe in the ideas that you're trying to pitch? Since you're here, I know you've got excitement. I know you've got passion. Otherwise, you just wouldn't be in this room right now. So use that. When I was first starting out, somebody told me that the most important thing we can do in the games industry is to choose rather than accept. That a lot of things are the way they are because they are, and that we just accept that. That a platformer is 2D because that's how it is. That Super Mario is a 2D game because that's how it is. That in Romania, you can make certain games, but you can't make other games because that's just the way it is. Because there's not enough money, you can't make X. Because there's not enough access, you can't make Y. Because there's not enough press, you can't make Z. Can I curse here? Good. Fuck that. Seriously, fuck that. Make the thing. Everybody started by making the thing. We didn't have an indie scene in the Netherlands. You know what we did? We started an indie meetup. And you know what? We're not 8 years later. We have a giant indie scene. The government got behind us because some people decided that there's no central event, so we're going to organize a central event. So that's what happened. I remember being in indie early in 2010, and everybody agreed that you weren't allowed to make money because money is the enemy of art or something. I don't know. They were all a bunch of hippies. It was cool. But you know what? At some point, somebody said, I need money, so I'm going to sell my game. I remember meeting a guy who said, well, I'm working on this game, and I've been working on it for a few years, and it's a game about building worlds with blocks, but I'm not done. I need more money, so I'm going to sell it before it's done, and then people are going to buy it. And everybody in the room was like, nobody's going to buy an unfinished product. And then he made Minecraft and started early access. Don't believe anybody who says you can't do a thing. If you believe you can do it, just do it. Just do the thing. Because if you believe it, that's the start. And if you're confident, you will get others to believe it. If you can get others behind you, it will happen. It always happens. That's how the world works. So take it seriously. And then stick with it. Stick with your choice for a little. It's really easy to go like, oh, you know what will be cool? It will be cool to organize a big event for like hundreds of game developers, and then you do the first time and 30 people show up. Because it's your first one. So yeah, it's going to be small. And do it again, and do it again, and do it again, until eventually, 4 years, 5 years later, you are here, which is great. When you are making a thing, and this is another thing, is confidence also means that you are willing to fail publicly. So if you're making a game, if you're an independent developer, submit to every possible thing. If you are in AAA and you have a dream of working at a big studio, submit to that. Submit your resume to that studio. If you believe that nobody's going to hire somebody with your experience, so what? Try anyway. I didn't believe the New York Times was going to write about my story, and they did. What did I have to lose? They were going to say no. So what? If you submit your resume to a studio that you want to work at, and they say no. So what? If you ask for a raise, what's the worst that's going to happen? They say no? You're fired? If your studio fires you for asking for a raise, there's bigger problems there, to be honest. And also important, you can disagree with everything I said on this stage. If you looked at this entire presentation and like, I fuck that guy. Fair. I don't care. What's the worst that's going to happen? You disagree. Maybe you end up being very, very successful doing the exact opposite that I said. In like 5 years, you're on this stage giving the opposite talk from me. And you know what? I'll sit in the audience and be like, fair enough. Because why not? Like, this is an industry of many people, of many stories, of many angles, of many perspectives. People's experiences are going to be different. So if you agreed with something I said, please take it with you in the future. Make games using that. And if you disagreed, take that into the future, make games, and hopefully be successful. But the real crux of confidence is that you have to dare to be vulnerable. It's knowing when to accept praise, which is a thing that I often see, especially in Eastern Europe, see kind of going wrong when people say, like, I made a really cool thing. People go like, oh no, it was no big deal. It's kind of a shitty thing to say, honestly. Because somebody comes to you and says like, oh hey, this was really cool, and you go like, no, you're wrong. Actually, it was shit. I know, I made it. Don't do that. When somebody gives you a compliment, just accept the compliment. Just say, oh, thank you, that means a lot to me. Or thank you, I appreciate that. Or thank you, I worked really hard on it. It's a very human thing to just be like, oh, no. It was tiny. It wasn't that big a deal. But no, it is a big deal. You made that thing. You had confidence. You stuck with it. You did it. That's worth celebrating, even just for you, even just for yourself. So say thanks. Just a pro tip. When somebody says this is cool, just say thank you. So easy. Makes a world of a difference. And nobody's going to go like, no, actually, I meant it was shit. And they're not going to go like, hey, this was cool. And you go like, oh, thank you. And they're like, nah, kidding. And it doesn't happen. It just doesn't. If you meet that person, just ban them from your life forever, okay? But it's about being not too afraid of failure. Like, failure is part of what we do. It's a huge part of what we do. It's why we call ourselves an iterative industry. Confidence is part of that. Allow yourself to fail because you will be better for it. Because you will learn about yourself and you will be a better game developer, a better designer, producer, whatever, artist, programmer, musician, sound designer, QA. Whatever you are, you will be better at that for having dared to fail. And finally, ask yourself why. Why are you here? Why are you in this industry? Why are you in this room? What choices did you make in your life that led to you sitting in a cinema and not watching a cool movie? What happened? And hopefully you're okay with these choices. Hopefully you're okay with why you work in games, because why you work in games is because you care. Because honestly, with the skills you have, you could work in another industry and earn more money and have more stability and have less Twitter hate than in this industry. That's just the way it works. This industry is this weird creative mix of a lot of problems that we love anyway because we love games. Because when we were young, when we were growing up, there was a moment where we started believing in games being an important thing. And we started honing our skills and we got better and better at them until eventually it was a job. So you are excited. You are excited about being here. Part of you is excited about being here. Even if, you know, the issues of work or the crunch or your indie game not doing well or whatever it is, even if those hold you down, there's something in you that is excited about being here. And confidence, really, all confidence is finding that and speaking from that. It's about finding that and daring to show that to other people. Daring to show people that, yes, I care. Yes, this is important. Yes, I have opinions. Yes, I have thoughts. Yes, I disagree. Yes, I agree. Yes, I think that's cool. Yes, thank you for saying that nice thing. That is confidence. It's also saying no. No, I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to stay at work late. No, I want to go home. No, I want to see my family. No, I don't think this is a good idea. No, I think this is bad for the company. No, I think this is bad for us as a team. No, I think you're being demotivational towards the rest of the team. Confidence, in large part, is daring to say yes, daring to say no. It's about daring to choose rather than accept. It's not allowing the world to just be as it is, but choosing to make the world the way you want it to be. So practice. Practice talking from that angle. Practice talking from your excitement. When you speak to somebody, speak from there. You'll be a more confident game developer and a better game developer overall. So there are many factors that will influence where you end up in life, and some of you will stay in this industry, and some of you will move on. Some of you will be very successful, and some of you will not. But we choose to stay here, and we're here for a reason. So don't forget to be passionate, and that it's okay to be passionate. So ask yourself, why do you make games? Thanks so much.